All right. I'll just hold that for a second and pass it off. Hey, everybody, I'm Todd, one of the founders here at CloudSpace. Just wanted to steal a couple of minutes here at the beginning of the meeting and scoot over a little more. And talk about a project we've been working on here at CloudSpace. I try to work on a little bit of kind of special projects, they call Todd's projects in here. As guys are on the beach working between client, steal them all away to work on stuff. About 3 years ago, I wanted to play around with Android, and I'd already been doing a bunch of Arduino and hardware hacking and 3D printer hacking, and open source some really bad software for connecting with the robotic operating system with Android and Arduino. And Ken, who is a hell of a lot better Android programmer than me, as it was available a couple months ago, said, hey, got this pretty interesting project, would you go ahead and take a look at it? And over the last couple of months has completely updated it to all of the new Android goodness, as well as Arduino goodness, and robotic operating system, which, if you guys aren't familiar, runs like the robot up on the space station and kind of all the cool robots. But I think there's a really massive opportunity if we could actually get it into the Android world. I mean, there's a reason it's named. But anyway, we're going to actually do a full talk on it and show off some robots next month. But we're open sourcing a bunch of the software, and going to let Ken kind of talk about it a bit.
Sure. So unfortunately, the bootloader on the Arduino that we use to use everything actually died right before, about an hour before I got out of work today. So we don't actually have the robot drivable right now. But the way that it works, ROS is the robot operating system. It's basically that handles messages, and messages can be anything. Twist messages, which are combinations of positions in space. You can do audio messages, which basically come down to streams of bytes. You can just do basic text messages, anything you want. The way that the robot works is we send, which are controls on where to go and how fast to do it, through ROS. ROS then pipes it down back to the Arduino. Unfortunately, since Arduinos aren't connected, they have to be connected to a web-connected Android device. That Android device is actually what runs ROS and acts as a serial bridge, and that serial bridge was the main component and the main missing component of what this project really was. So that was a huge part of what we had to rebuild and open source, as Todd mentioned. Things that we've built cardboard modules, which will allow you to pipe video stream from a phone to the cardboard view to have the VR view, and all kinds of stuff. And these are all set up as individual standalone modules.
It's really cool. The guys were driving around the car about this big around the office with first-person view with the stereoscopic camera.
It's really cool.
Driving under seats, it's got a mic under it, and yelling and scaring the piss out of people. And, it's pretty cool.
But those modules are all standalone, and especially if you guys have used Gradle before, you know how modules are standalone. Like they're called modules in Gradle as well. Those basically are it's a raw framework for passing data along through. What we're kind of looking for is for you guys to see if you can look at our code a little bit and see if you guys can write some interesting modules. Some of the ones that I had in mind were like a temperature module. It would be really easy. Basically, any sensor that Android has, we would like that some sort of module that exposes that sensor data. They're really easy to make. I have like 5 or 6 of them up there. It's basically just it's a very simple framework to pass data, and whatever data you guys think would be really cool to have remote access to from a really cool. And we'll definitely get some links up. Do we have like a mailing list we can get the links out for it all?
Yeah, it's on cloudspace.com/github/ is it all?
It's all under Arduino, and in the README you'll see links to all the individual modules and all the other information about them, so you can see all those there.
And, and again, we're going to be doing a full talk on it and kind of showing it off next month, but if you guys want to get an early preview and go hack against it.
It's very, very cool.
Yeah, we've also got, in addition to the little rolling bot, we're building some custom bots, and I don't know if you guys follow 21st Century Robot, we've got one of the 50 Jimmies that are being released this week is showing up.
Walking robot
bot, one of the
very
first
cool.
50 that they put out. So hacking that on the platform, as well as potentially some quadcopters and some things we've got going. So that was it. Just want to do thanks for letting us go through that.
But yeah, definitely modules. Think of some ideas, and if you don't, if you have the ideas but just don't know how to make them, also just send us an email. There's plenty of contact information.
We've got
on there.
3D printers and shop bots and everything. If you want help on the hardware side, we'd love to do some hardware hacking with you guys.
So what I'll do, because most of you guys are all in it, but I can also just blast it through the Android group in itself, the links and everything.
Yep.
I can also blast that in the Android dev Slack as well.
Sweet.
That way, that's in there.
There we go.
Well, maybe not the Android one, but the full-blown Slack. But I'll post it in the dev Slack as well. That way you guys can play with it whenever you want to. Suggestions, whatever. Most of you guys know how to get a hold of me regardless, so I can always relay everything back to them. But other than that, actually speaking of, it's a drone. I was calling it a quadcopter earlier. Next month, or not next month, next week is Ruby, but we have one of our guys is talking on Ruby and another guy is actually doing a drone with Ruby.
Cool.
And it's actually flying. That's why I called it a quadcopter, but apparently he's just been calling it a drone. I don't know. Sean will probably get. So yeah, that's next week. Other than that, Ivy, let's get you going. I know. I'm like, what do I call this? So you can go ahead and open up and. So I've never used them. Just quickly, just like patch it on there. If you're not going to wander too far from here, you are good to go to leave it right there. All right. Hello. All right. We good? Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Ivy Paget, and welcome to Taking a Bite Out of Android. So, Android is apparently going to have a shark theme. It has a goat theme, and that's getting out of hand. So, there's my shark. That's my contribution. All right, so this is going to be an intro talk for how to get started with Android, basically using Android Studio. Just a quick little, you can follow along if you want to, little project. Yeah, so this is who I am. I'm a computer science student at UCF. I'm also a web developer for new media at UCF. I interned at Google. I use Vim a lot, and I mention that because I'm going to suggest that if you're getting started with Android, you should use Android Studio, because I tried using Vim to start, and it was really hard. Android Studio does a lot of behind-the-scenes magic, and you kind of want that when you're getting started. I'm also a beginner in Android development, so I'm giving a beginning talk. I don't know too much, so if I say something wrong, I'm sorry. All right, so this is what we're going to learn today. I'm going to talk about how to start a project using Android Studio, how to create basic UI elements, and how to make those UI elements interact with each other. I'm also going to, every once in a while, I'll talk about a few helpful things that Android Studio has for you to use. So you can follow along with me if you want, if you have Android Studio developed, if you have Android Studio installed already. It's a super simple app that's really easy to follow along with. However, if something breaks, please save it for after the talk so we can talk one-on-one. Because things tend to break when you live code and when you try to follow someone. All right, so this slide isn't too important because I'm going to go through, all right, fine. I'm going to go through how to do it in person. This is basically for anyone who looks at the slides later. All right, so wait for Android Studio to start up. All right, so this is the welcoming page for Android Studio. It shows you some of your recent projects along with a quick start menu. So for the purpose of this, we're going to start a new Android Studio project. And here's where you name it. So I'm just going to name it something like simple application. And then the company domain is really so you can give your project like a namespace. I tend to just use my domain name and then picking where you want to put your project location. So next is where you choose what your target Android devices are. For the purposes of this, I'm just going to go with the default ice cream sandwich, which is really old, but whatever. You can also do like the TV or where, and you can also do glass, but I don't have that installed. Okay, activities. So I like to think of activities like pages on a web or on an application. So it's kind of like most apps will have like a home page and a setting page, and these would be different activities in most cases. So for this purpose, I'm just going to choose the blank activity, but Android Studio has a few templates for you to use, which is convenient. And then you name it, and this would be if you're doing something specific, but I just go with the defaults for now. All right. So now it's going to build it somewhere. Yeah, there it goes. Okay, so it's going to build it now. And in the meantime, this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be adding a button to it. I put all the code up on the slides for anyone who looks at it later. I'll talk about where the slides are at the end. All right. Okay, so it's going to start up, and I'm pretty sure it usually opens up a file, but if it doesn't, you can, oh, there it is. All right. It'll normally open up with your main activity, which is the Java file for it, and this XML file, which is basically the layout of your first page, if it ever loads up. There it is. Okay, so we're in the design mode right now. Oh, before I do that, I wanted to mention that there's a terminal built into Android Studio, which is super convenient for if you want, I'm gonna zoom in. If you wanna, if you wanna get in it, you can just do it right there. And then it will put together a gitignore for you and put all these files together. So I'm gonna add them all for now, and then commit this as initial commit. All right. So, all right. So I did that so that later I could mention a few things that change. You can see it easily. All right. Let me zoom out. Oops. All right. So this is the design for the current activity that we're looking at. So it's activity main, which is what we named the main activity when we went through the starting. So right now it has this hello world little text bubble that you can click on. I'm going to delete that because we don't want that. So for now we're going to add a button. And over here it has this little layout panel, which lets you choose a bunch of UI elements to add to it. There are a lot of really cool things in here that you can do, but they're kind of more advanced. So for now, I'm just going to put this little button. So you can drag and drop to put it somewhere, and then you just put it down. And from there, you can change the style and stuff. So if you want to change the background color for it, you can go in here, change the color, well, purple. So now it has background. You can also change the width of the button. So right now it is just filling the content, but say we want to make it bigger, we can match the parent, or you can also put in your own number for the width. All right. So now that we have this button, we're going to make it do something by giving it another UI element to interact with. So we're going to add a plain text view. I wanted to point out while we're putting this text view down that there are these little arrows that point to the side of the app and to the button. And that is basically Android elements are relative to one another. So when I put this text view down, and I'm going to change the text size so it's a lot bigger than it is right now. When I put the text view down and I move the button, the text view is going to move with it. So that's what the little arrows mean. Okay, so we have this text view, and you can go into the text of the layout if you wanted to actually type this all up for yourself, which is totally fine. You can click on them and it'll show you where in the code. I wanted to point out that each element has an ID with it, and that's how That's how you figure out which UI elements that you want to interact with if you're going to mess with them in the Java code. And another thing I wanted to point out is Android Studio doesn't like you hard coding string names, so it wants you to extract it and put it in the strings.xml. So this was the text. I was going to name it text block. So you can extract that, and it'll say string text block. So when we go to the values and then strings.xml, it'll show you that there's a variable for this new text, and we can change that, and it'll say something else like hello. So now when we go back here, it says hello now. So that's to keep you, if you're going to be reusing a lot of text, like a header, for instance, you're going to want to put that in the strings. You can also add a colors.xml if you're using a lot of colors as well. All right, so now that we have both a button and a text view, we're going to want to make the button do something. So we're going to add an on-click to it. So one way, you can just type it in if you want, or over here on the side, there's an on-click option. So just going to do like simple click. And now, when we go back over here, the button has, where'd it go? Did I not save it? Oops. I think I may have added that to the actual background instead of the button. All right, well, let's do that again. All right, simple click. Okay, now it's there. So, yeah, I added it up here by accident. Whoops. Okay, oh no. This is why I don't like live coding. Everything goes wrong. But I felt for like an intro talk, it was kind of, yeah. So, okay. So now we have the simple click on-click method on the button. And when you hover over it, it's going to get annoyed at you that that's not an actual function. So you can actually have Android Studio create this function for you. So I click that, and over here, we're now in the main activity.java file. It created a simple click for us, and it included because it's a click function. All right, so now we're going to make this function actually do something. So what I'm going to do is so that when you click the button, it's going to change this text over here to say something else, because I wanted to keep this kind of simple. So you're going to want to get something called a text view. I'm going to name it TV. And then you're gonna be casting it, typecasting it. Oh no, what is it called? Find view by ID. So we're gonna be finding the text view that we want to change the text on, and we're gonna find it by using this this R, which has all of the elements that we need. So we're going to use r.id, and then we're going to find the text view, which has an ID of text view. That's simple enough. All right? So it autofills it for you, and then put this in. We've grabbed that button, or we've grabbed that text view, and we can edit it like we want. Another thing to point out is that I haven't defined text view, but it is something that it's a class that we can import. So you can just do that, and Android Studio will go and import it up here for you. So here it is, right there. All right, so now that we have this text view, we want to actually do something with it. So we can set the text to it to something like goodbye. And then now it's not going to do anything on here, but now when we click the button, it'll change the text to goodbye. So I'm going to run this application. All right, let's wait for this to load up. Yeah, is it erroring or something?
Yeah, it's doing stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's, yeah, it's just loading up. You can see it down here. All right.
Create
Yeah. All right, so here's what pops up when you choose to run it. It wants you to choose a device. So had you had a phone plugged in right here, it'll have it in this running device area. I don't have my phone plugged in, but I do have an emulator running on my computer. So it's finding that. You can also launch an emulator through Android Studio, but it takes forever to get set up. Yeah. If I were to actually start up an emulator, it would last all day. So, all right. So now it's actually going to load this up on here. It should at least, unless that, yeah, there it goes. Okay. No, what?
The screen's locked.
Is it really? Oh, there it is. Okay. So, oh.
That was the most defeated awe.
I'm just going to start it over. All right. Start. So I'm using Genie Motion to create this because Android Studio was too to figure out last night. So it's loading up the emulator, and hopefully this time it'll work. There shouldn't be any errors. Okay, so I'll unlock it just in case that matters. All right, so now we're gonna run it again. And, all right, so it's running. Okay, here it is. And this time it's not gonna crash. So now when I press the button, it changes the text. That's revolutionary, I know. But I wanted to keep it kind of simple, so that's all of the demoing I wanted to do. I did want to go over a few things about Android Studio, like when you load up an app, it's going to automatically create this Android manifest file. And this is basically where you define anything, well, it's where you're going to store all of your activities, your intents, and just some general stuff about your application. This is really important for when you're adding multiple activities. You have to remember to put it in that activity. If you go through, or in the Android manifest, if you go through Android Studio and have it create an activity for you, it will put it in here. Another thing I wanted to mention was, so we only touched 2 files, but somehow there are 5 files changed. So this is what I was talking about all the behind the scenes that Android Studio does. There's a lot of stuff that you need to change when you change simple things, but you don't really think to change it, and you're not going to get a good error if you try to run it yourself without adding to certain files. So what I was saying earlier, like I started Android using Vim, and I spent hours trying to debug my app, and it was just like I forgot to add something to the Android manifest, or I didn't add something to the strings file, or something really simple like that that I didn't realize I had to add. And of course, Googling the errors doesn't really return anything, but I do think that if you're getting started, you should definitely use Android Studio. It does a lot of stuff for you, and I do think that if you're going to use Android Studio, you should definitely check out the diffs while you're, so you can figure out what kinds of things it's changing, so you know for the future, you like understand how your application works, and it's not just like, oh, I just let Android Studio take care of it all for me. I think that's really it. I'm gonna slide through these. All right. Yeah, okay, so it works now. I'll present the slides. So you can find the slides up on my website, which is ivysore.com, and then /Android. It'll just bring you to the Google slide page. Here's my contact information. And if anybody has any questions, me. But if not, that's totally okay, because it was super simple. All right.
Any questions, Chris?
What did you hate most about Android Studio?
Probably how slow it is.
Nailed it.
No, I haven't used Eclipse. I stayed far away from that. All right.
What's your favorite part of it?
That it it handles a lot for you that you don't really know to handle at the beginning. And also, I really like how you can edit the Android, like the design, right? Drag and drop stuff. Though that does get really annoying when things get complicated. Yep. That causes a lot of trouble. All right. We are good.
I don't know. I'm gonna plug it in and it's probably not gonna work. I said it was gonna work, so.
Way to go. Just jinxing something.
So how many of you guys are actually doing Android every day? Not all at once. Not you, Jose. More than just me. More, some of you actually use Android every day?
I use it.
Like develop for it? Because I know there's like you, like Austin left. I don't blame him.
He's tired of getting soft. You talk a lot.
I know. Really? None of you guys? Why are you even here then?
To learn. Free pizza. Yeah, free pizza.
That's fair.
Free pizza.
It's loading, it's loading. Don't have anything you don't want on your screen. No, but I forewarn all of these guys, especially depending on which Slack channel they're in. I've got people in trouble for like having certain things on Slack up when you like.
Oh yeah, I would quit Slack.
Sorry. I did say something and it doesn't work now, so that's awesome.
I can't hate on Windows too much because I've used it for architecture stuff. So I have both devices.
I'm pretty sure AutoCAD works on that.
AutoCAD, but not Revit. They have not transitioned Revit into Mac yet. Fuck SketchUp. It's the most inaccurate piece of shit I've ever used.
Tell us how you really feel.
Actually, my teacher ripped apart shit before he built his model last night. And my teacher was like, and this is why you don't do that.
Sounds like you need an iOS.
I know.
This is why we can't have nice things. All right, well, this will be fun.
It's gonna be all over their heads.
Yep. Just can't mirror screens, that's too much. All right, so we covered layouts. Doing layouts really sucks when you have to do them in the editor and you have to do a and it sucks more when you actually need to show that to somebody because nobody wants to see it inside your editor. I don't want to see it inside my editor. It's awful. So GIMU Mirror is a solution to that problem. If you want to present to a client, if you want to try something out, if you want to not spend all day trying to move the buttons around inside the IDE or type everything up and then try to run it in the app and try to get into the right state to find out that it's not right, something's off screen, and then you're trying to use like the hierarchy viewer to try to figure out what happened to your view. It gets really messy and it really sucks. So GIMU is trying to solve that problem. If you don't know who I am, I'm Ian Thomas. I work for a defense contractor here in town. And you can follow me on GitHub. I do tons of stuff. So check it out and get involved, Caitlin.
No, I'm not doing an Android doc. And get rid of your Google Drive shit.
Next week.
No.
All right. So what sucks about doing it in the IDE? Resources must exist in your project. And what that means is if you want to demo a picture, like let's say you grab all your pictures from the internet. Well, if you want to demo your view, you're going to have to put a picture in there that you can view. A lot of people just get lazy, start using like the app icon, which then gets really silly when you start doing scaling. And then when you go to show that to somebody, they look at you like you're retarded. So resources, that sucks. The on-device demo, and that's what I was getting at. If you want to view something and touch it and interact with it, That's totally up to you. Build up some activities to instantiate everything, get it into the right state, just so that you can play with it. Huge waste of time. So no hot swapping. Once you launch something on the phone or on the emulator, that's it forever. You have to rebuild everything, upload it. If you start getting into like the 10, 20 megabyte APKs, you will hate your life. It's a huge waste of time. You just start throwing balls at the ceiling. And you probably want to write XML by hand. What Ivy was getting at with the buttons, when you start arranging things in the visual editor, it's really awesome if you just need to like center some text, change the text, and then ship it. But if you need to do anything other than that, you're probably going to hate it really, really fast. It's really cumbersome to use. It will just start mass changing your file. So you've hand typed up all this awesome, you touch the screen, and then it's like, no, your whole day's ruined. So just go ahead and roll back that file. So then that, Android Studio, Eclipse, every preview, even the emulators, they're all liars. As soon as you put it on a real device, you're going to go, I've never seen it do that before, and then you're going to look stupid. So don't trust it. But okay, so Mirror, hot swapping of code. You can do that. If you put your custom view onto the Mirror emulator, you got hot swapping of code. Almost real time. They actually showed this with a full 3D game. If any of you are familiar with Clone Island, which was one of the first Android games made by a Google developer, they were actually able to 20-second delay hot swap code, and this is a huge project. So it's really, really awesome not to upload a whole APK every time. You're just uploading basically a diff. So accurate previews, because you can run this on a device and you can run it on multiple devices at the same time, you get exactly what you were looking for. There's no surprises when you finally get the app built and get into some weird situation and then QA is yelling at you. So unlimited custom layout wrapping. What I mean by this is that a lot of times you'll have some layout or fragments and you need them to do multiple things depending on what data or what events has happened to get you to that position. Now, this is a really, really hard thing to do when you want to preview something to someone. You don't want to have to go like, hold on, let me log in, get back, and then click here, and then I do this. That's really, really cumbersome, and it's going to be really, really hard on you to try to go through all of these steps and get everything looking right inside your time frame. But this helps you do that because you can actually demo any view as many times as you want with as many different sets of data as you want. And lastly, easy data swapping. All you have to do is go change out the resources inside the Mirror files, and it uploads to the device for you. Everything. So, probably. It actually does keep track of how much time you've saved, which, as with any tool that tries to keep track of that, it's pretty much full of lies, but it makes you feel good the day when it says that you've saved 2 or 3 days of time. You can at least show it to your boss. So, all right, come back. And this is going to be really hard to do. So I was going to show it to you guys in real time, and hopefully, all right, my emulator didn't crash, so that's good. All right, so to start Mirror, the very first thing you want to do is open up Android Studio, close the 1800 windows it opens for you. You want to go to plugins. So if you go to just the first plugins, has anybody seen this screen, the plugin screen? Anybody? No? Well, plugins, there's lots of really cool stuff. If you do git ignore files, there's a plugin for that. If you are on GitHub a lot, there's an MD plugin that can help show you how it's going to look as you write it. Really helpful not to leave your IDE. Normally, I used to use a lot of web tools for doing this kind of stuff, and now the IDE kind of helps me do that. Unlike Eclipse, which made this really terrible, plugins in Android Studio are actually pretty awesome. So when you want to get started with this, you just come here, you type in Gimu Mirror, then you would hit the install button. It's already installed for me, so we're going to skip that part. Once you get it installed, it's going to ask you to restart the IDE, and now you're going to have these new buttons over here that you haven't seen before. And you've got this interesting drop-down that matches your actual launcher dropdown. And so what this is it will let you switch between the different variants if you have any, which is also really, really handy that it doesn't get in your way. It plays nice with everything that you might be doing inside of Gradle if you get into any custom complex configurations. So we're just going to go over here and run this. And you can see that what it did is it went to the emulator, it installed their application, launched it, and now my IDE is actually synced up to this emulator. And if I had multiple phones in front of me, the way that I work, I have about 5 phones in front of me. This launches on all of them, and it runs all of them at the same time, which is excellent. So we're going to come over here. We don't need to do that. So here's the very first file that we're going to look at. Now, is everybody aware with Sharknado? Everybody's heard of Sharknado? Yeah. So Sharknado, as everybody knows, just got done filming a couple months ago. It's coming out in June. So if you were to be tasked with making an app that maybe showed some kind of newspaper, so we got a title, we got some text, the user probably needs to be able to scroll in the text. That's great. But if you wanted to do this inside the IDE, this wouldn't be very easy to do. So what we have here is just the regular Android layout. It's just a scroll view, linear layout, and some text fields. Not very interesting. What we've done is actually shove all of this into Mirror. So all of this text actually lives inside of this Mirror folder. So when I ship this APK, this stuff does not go with it. None of this text goes with it, so I don't have to worry about removing it out at build time. If I had any drawables, like the ones that are in here, none of those ship out with it, which is a huge win. So it's basically a really awesome tool to help you work faster instead of getting in your way in any kind of awkward and unnecessary way. So after you make this, this looks great, but it's pretty bland. So the thing somebody might ask you to do is go ahead and let's get some like photos. Awesome.
You should have had a confirmation. Do you really want to leave that?
And then you wait for the emulator.
It should be like, are you sure you want to leave me? That's what it should say.
She'd always say that.
There we go. All right. So somebody's probably going to ask you to add a picture to it. That seems like a pretty. Now it looks a little bit sexier. We got some stuff going on. And a lot of web pages, you're not going to have just one picture. So instead of just a single picture, we're going to have an actual, there we go. We have an actual view pager. So this is all great. We've effectively, with this file, we've just added this view pager. So this is the exact same layout we had before, just a view pager in there to make it a little prettier. So how did we actually put this data into there? That looks like this. So this is Jimu's XML, and what you can do here is hook into views that you have using the getters and setters that they provide and pump data into them with just pure XML. And this works very similar to the way that the Android layouts work. You can see that we have @layout, @drawable, @string, that it's all structured the exact same, so you don't have to relearn anything. The only thing you have to learn is these hooks that they've provided as far as XML. And if you look at their reference, it's only like 10 XML tags you have to learn. So you're only going to spend about 20 minutes figuring those out, and they have a nice preview to walk you through them. But just view pager, we've created some pages, and all the pages is just an image view. And we're putting a drawable onto the image view. And that gives us this live preview right here. Demo that this is actually live. We're just going to remove the third one. I hit Control-S, wait for it, and that just almost real time, right? Yeah, awesome. How much time are you going to save? Okay, so hit the back button once, not mess that up again. So the next thing that you're probably going to, shit, which one was this? Oh, so this is just portrait. Which is great until you go to landscape. There we go. So if I'd gone to landscape before, I can probably show that. Obviously, this sucks. That's clearly not what anybody's wanting to see. They don't want to see a full screen image with just this much text. I have no idea I can even scroll. That's not obvious for the customer. So we're going to come here and we're going to add in a landscape layout. So this is what the landscape looks like. All I've done is just move the view pager to the side, put the text on the right. So now it's obvious that I can scroll, and if they touch this, they can see that, like, okay, cool, I can move this around, and I can see these other images. But unfortunately, this, once you start using it, it doesn't really, it's not a very nice animation given the layout of the page. So the last thing that I wanted to do was, let's see what other layout animations could look like. And this is where Jimmy shows that you can actually do custom views. So this is a custom view that I created, which is just a view pager implementation. And it's going to go ahead and set a page transformer for me. And so you see that I've basically changed the way that this works. And for each layout, we have a different transformer based on what might look cool in that orientation. And then the very last thing would be the code swapping. And the code swapping is actually quite quick. So here's just a set page transformer. I'm not sure if you guys have before, but you can just do this. New flip. So all I've done is change out which page transformer I want to use. See that mirror is actually doing a little bit of work down here. We're done, and now we're using a custom layout view without actually reloading anything. I did it in real time, and if you do that in front of a customer, their mind's gonna like just explode because they're gonna think you're a magician. So pretty awesome, right? So you can pretty much do anything. The only limitations is that you can't launch activities. You can't launch fragments directly. You can launch fragments through like the view pagers, and they have like a little helper to help you launch fragments, but I would avoid that. Stick to custom views, and you can make awesome stuff really, really fast. This only took me about 20 minutes to put all of this together, so save time.
How much is it again?
It's like $70. I mean,
Still a plugin?
yeah. Free for like the first 30 days. I got it like right at the end of the month, and it glitched out the next day, and then it wasn't free anymore. So your experience may vary with the 30 days, but I got one. So, but I was convinced in one day that this is a time saver, and probably in the very first day I saved that much money, at least for my boss. So.
That first page you showed where it active a bank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. That's not like a screen. That's like just all your activities listed. Click on them and see them.
Yeah. So where these came from is actually here. So you can see that if I was to just delete that one, and this is inside the mirror folder, it immediately updates there, and I can just bring it back, and it should come back almost immediately. And these are just their versions of XML, and so you can see here that we can do, oops. So I just hit save over there, and then that updates. So that's just their layouts is what shows up. And that's what I was getting at, is that you can actually re-implement one activity multiple times. It doesn't care, it doesn't have that association. The only association it has with activities is the fact that the layout I know is an activity. It doesn't actually know that it's an activity. I just told it what to point at. So.
Is the code free? Or do you pay just for the development system?
Well, the IDE is all free. This is just the Android emulator. All you're paying for is for Jimu to have their app launch and bridge it.
What you produce will run just ordinary Android.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. And so you can see that here. Oops. So I mean, this is my layout for the first one, I think. Yep. So this activity 4, it's pointing to this file. And so we can actually, in real time, change this to, like, let's do style text appearance. Let's just do that. And so you should actually see this change, if I'm on the right one. So change the actual font, probably do something a little more obvious. So this should really ruin it. So you can edit it live in Android, and you can edit live inside GymU. It doesn't matter. It doesn't care which one you do. And you can let it edit live inside the code as well. So
once you launch the GymU app on the device, it has to be hardwired to the laptop, right?
you need to be in debug. So if you did it over Wi-Fi, that's fine. If you do it over Bluetooth, that's fine. If you do it over USB, that's fine. I would recommend doing USB. It's significantly faster, obviously. So, but like I was saying, I actually leave 5 devices plugged into my laptop pretty much all the time, and it runs on all of them at the same time. And it's slower, but it's barely anything. Anybody else? No.
So in your mirror folder,
Yep.
the main activities, the XMLs, they just point to the layout in your actual project, not the...
Yeah.
Okay.
So right here, you have content, and content is what points it to the layout that you want. I'm not sure if the hotkeys work. Yeah, unfortunately, they've been getting better about it. Some of the, like you would expect, like auto completion, that doesn't there yet. Pointing to resources in both directions doesn't work yet. So you do have to do a little bit more manual work in that regard, but I think it will get better. They've been releasing updates just nonstop. Like it already supports Kotlin, if you're familiar with that. If you like doing Android, not something else like Kotlin or Groovy, they already support it, which is pretty impressive because those aren't even finished yet. Yeah, so cool. Anybody else? No? Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. And did you tweet? You bastard. Well, Austin is going to tweet at them. Actually, here. Get a picture of it. So when I gave this talk at Canvas, we actually got discounts. So you're welcome. Ooh. But hopefully what happens is that we get a discount code, and I think it was like 15% off, so it made it like $50 or something like that. But you should definitely buy this, especially if you're learning Android. This is a huge help. It'll save you so much time compared to like launching it, changing one thing, launching it again, changing one thing, launching it again, because I'm sure that's how it's working. You can't trust the IDE as much as you can trust it actually running on the device, and this is a huge help in that regard.
Where does it tell you how much time you save?
Yeah, good question. So if anything bad does happen, this console will actually open up. So for this session, because I didn't do very much, all I saved was 1 minute and 6 roughly. I would say it was actually more than that, because anytime you do any live hot swap change, that has just saved you like 30 seconds every single time. So if you add up like how many changes and how quickly you can make those changes compared to Android way, this is a huge time sink, and that's probably not a very fair comparison.
So if you make a new, without the plugin, if you make a new button on that has a new function on Android Studios, and you relaunch it, it takes 30 seconds every single time?
Roughly. I mean, to all the APK to Redux, I mean, I've got a high-end i7 in my laptop, and I would say like 20 seconds is like basically a brand new project. Sometimes it's a little bit slower, but it depends on how much you changed. And it depends on what your laptop's doing too. But there's also the other side of if you had a really resource-heavy application, like it was just full of images, that's going to take an extremely long time to push over the USB to the phone, and for the phone to move all the resources around inside storage. So there's an additive cost. Like the bigger the app gets, the more expensive it gets to actually run the app on your phone.
What's your Twitter?
What?
What's your Twitter?
I don't know, probably like Mir or Jimu. Jimu. Search that.
Right. So when you said that the layouts can't be trusted and the IDE, you're talking about more specifically the design window.
Yes. So one of the best examples is if you use relative layouts. There's a lot of situations with relative layouts where the the preview what you expected to happen, and the phones will at all. So a lot of that has to do with the relative placements and the references. So you can get in situations where you're trying to lay out below something, and then you want to lay out to the left of something, but that thing was also waiting to lay out below. So depending on which order you had put them in the XML, you will often put that visually right, and then you run it on the device, and neither of the views show up because they're just off in space.
So then does that happen mainly with relative layouts? When I've been getting into Android a little bit.
It's not exclusive to relative layouts. If you get into things like Canvas, like when you the new Lollipop added dynamic shadows, those don't work. Canvas, anytime that you have like clipping or you have some kind of like filter on Canvas, that doesn't work at all.
Corner radius on buttons doesn't pass that half a dp.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of situations where even when it's not just doing something horribly wrong, it just can't support it. And so this can, though, because it's letting the device do what it would have done normally. Same things. And if you even want to make like major style changes, you know, like that's another thing that you can do, which is quite nice. Let me see. And just do that real quick. So, like for instance, this doesn't, or this does have an action bar. So I can just swap that to no action bar, and now all of these are going to switch. There we go. And same thing with like, I can do, you know, so even things like that where you're working with styles, and that's another great example of where Android is like a nightmare if you're trying to do a lot of complex things with styles. It stacks up really quickly in complexity, and this is a huge, huge help in that regard. Yeah?
Are you hitting a key to do the mirroring? Because after you change one line of code, could you change to do the mirroring, or does it do that automatically every time you change?
So I think with different files, it behaves differently. With code, you have to hit save because it's going to have to do a lot of compilation. With resources, I think it's as the resource becomes correct, it automatically switches. So I think if I just hit backspace, I believe it tries to refresh, maybe. Yeah, no, I wanted to intentionally break it, but okay, well, I guess it is. You have to hit Control-S on everything, but it's such a habit for me. Yeah, there we go. And so now it's complaining about that's not possible. It does actually, if you did something wrong in a view, the view to crash at runtime, it will actually crash on here, but they were smart enough not to let it just crash the app. It actually crashes with a show stack trace button in there. So right on the phone, you can actually read the stack trace, go back to the IDE, fix the problem. Sorry?
Oh, so that's definitely what's up.
Yeah. So even that, like, it helps save you time. Like, you don't have to wait to go like, oh, well, now I got to go run it to figure out what I broke. It just helps you jump right into that. Any luck on that?
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah? I'm just saying Andrew did it better.
Or I want to slash your car tires.
That's fair. I need new ones. So anybody else? Anything? No? Well, thank you guys. Again.
All right. So for those who were here last Tuesday, you guys know that I did a JavaScript talk, and I actually built code.
Yeah.
And she did not share it to GitHub.
Not yet. Don't worry.
We'll be accepting pull requests.
I don't know what the hell.
Yeah, do you want a validation for that?
You need to talk to one of my guys to make sure we do that. So, with all this being said, I get to reuse what the hell I did, because I'm sorry for my time, and build something just because my VP of engineering thought it was funny to actually, learn JavaScript. So, there it is. I'm not showing the code right now, because I'd have to go find it, and I'm just not bothering with it. So,
That is somewhere near that file, Caitlin's computer.
I see right there a source.
Here's a screen. I think this is a screenshot of it, actually.
That's hilarious.
I had to do it for my presentation. Gosh. All right. So yeah, that's it. That's it right there. There you go.
509 every time. What the hell?
But
Where's your semicolon?
shut up. I hate you. We were here last week. Hush. I have not cleaned anything with it. Okay. I haven't messed with it later. But let's do giveaways so we can get beer, guys.
Have you learned math yet?
You want to build my model for me?
Sure, let's go with that.
You want to build my model? Then we'll All right. You know those little tickets I gave you guys? You might want to get them out. Because that's what those numbers are. So that's the first ticket I gave out. And they'll... It's going to pick between those. Huh? It's like, what? What now? All right. Let's see if it'll work. Ha!
If you were to get it, you're gonna say 510.
What would you like, Shay?
What are the options?
My t-shirt?
I'll go with the book.
Okay. You want? Oh, yeah, I heard you. That would be entertaining. Okay, there you go. Who is this? What would you like, my dear? So, my t-shirt, or you could be awesome like Austin's headband right there, which has sunglasses and pens and stuff in here too.
I'll do that.
You want to do this? Yeah. Okay.
The glasses are pretty awesome.
Pretty much.
Great headband.
You wear that thing every day. All right. 519. What would you like?
Oh, can I do the t-shirt?
Yeah. What size?
I guess extra large.
Mhm. All right. The last ones are bags. 513.
It's me, but I have so many bags.
So I'll do it again.
Take a bag.
Okay. All right. One more bag.
iOS meetups.
I know, right?
That's pretty awesome. She burned you in.
Wait, who did I burn this time?
No, Ivy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Who's 5'11"?
Well, it does take numbers and put them into a pool. Like
I
this
will
would be
let
called-
you guys play with it, okay? It will go on GitHub. And I'm very scared for what you guys would do with it.
Confiscated situation.
All right. We're done. So, with all this being said, if there's any pizza left over,